Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Strive for Good Life podcast. My name is Nino Banguera, and I'm here with Sheri Jones, who is the co-founder of youthinbusiness.com, which teaches kids entrepreneurial skills. Welcome to the show, Sheri.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here with you and your audience.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. I'm really interested in this topic because I have young children, and so I'd love to hear, your experience teaching children. But let's start at the beginning. What were those early entrepreneurial influences in your life, and why did you decide to eventually go out on your own?
Yeah, so I think growing up, I grew up in a single parent family. My husband grew up in the country on a farm, and we didn't really have those entrepreneurial business influences as us growing up. My husband Ben had a few ventures in his teens where he used to go up to the city and have a few little businesses and earn himself enough pocket money to last for the school holidays. And so, we didn't really have a huge amount of influence growing up. But for us, after we got married, we spent a year traveling the world together, and we really loved that lifestyle and loved having the freedom to, choose how we spent our time and be able to travel and so on. And so, when we started to have our own family, we were like, hey, we really want to teach us kids those skills that we weren't necessarily taught growing up. And so I'm originally a grade school teacher, so obviously love working with young people. And so, that's really where our passion started. And so we've been able to do that with our own kids very successfully. We have 3 boys that run a business together. Their biggest month to date's been about 20,000 US. And so they work together. They do different elements of the business. And so we love teaching them their skills. And then as we've had developed since then, we have our own businesses and have been very successful with that. And so, we've just turned from having our own businesses and that freedom to be able to have that opportunity to really get out there and inspire young people of what's possible today.
I love that. So how did that start? I mean, so it obviously came from this need, seeing, this lifestyle that you want and realizing that, okay, like we weren't taught those things, but how did you start to, teach your kids that, or did it start from having to acquire those skills and that knowledge yourself?
Yeah, so we had started out running our own business and obviously had a network of business owners and so on at the time. And so one night we actually had some friends over for dinner, and our eldest son at the time, it was just 7, started creating these colorful little potions and tried to sell them to our friends. And we all sort of laughed it off. But, after they left, we sort of sat Trent down and said, if you want to sell something, that's great, but how can we provide value? Whether it's a product-based business or a service-based business, how can we provide value? And so that's really where it all started from. Trent was really interested himself. He loved being outdoors. We had a little small herb garden at the time. And so we expanded that, and he created a very localized business where people would text message in their orders and he would go and deliver them after school. So that's really where it started. For us, like for Trent, it was all about the cash flow, obviously. But for us as parents, he was very shy, reserved child. So we saw this as a really great opportunity for him to be able to go out there, develop his interpersonal skills, be able to promote himself and really build that confidence. And that's really what's been so great to see. That has been a great avenue for that to do so. Trent is able to public speak. He just gave a talk to, 500 people a couple of weeks ago. And I was just like amazed at how far he's come. And I really think a lot of those skills have directly come from having a business, which is really great. So that's where it started. Our son was really interested. And so we just sort of supported him on his journey. And then he started to grow and, get some traction. It was growing, and people were like seeing the changes in Trent and hearing about his business. And so people were like, hey, how can we do this with our kids too? And at the time we met, had some business owner friends who had teenage children that were running a successful business. And so they said, hey, let's get together and let's put a program together. And so that's really where it started. We ran an event, and we had parents and kids come along, a free workshop. And we were just there to open kids' minds to really what's possible and teach them those entrepreneurial skills that, while the school system is great, often it doesn't teach our kids those life and financial skills. And so that's really what our program has been based around.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So immediately, the question that pops into my head, because I obviously want my children to succeed, but I also want to be respectful of what they want to do. And so where do you, or I don't know if you had to, I don't know if your son just kind of himself wanted to dive into the entrepreneurial world, or, but where maybe speak to this balance of knowing when to push your child, right? And then also being able to step back and kind of letting them do it on their own. Like, where did you find that balance?
That's a great question. So I think ultimately, when your child shows an interest, that's a great time to support them. It's almost like a little spark that happens, that they're excited. They might have, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or they might have played the board game, or they might have seen an interview of a kid on Shark Tank and go, wow, that kid has a business. I want to do that too. So whatever that initial spark is for your child, for ours, it was Trent saying, hey, I want to sell something. And we were just like, oh, wow. Like, it could have been really easy for us to say, oh, when you're older, or when you've, we can do this. Or I think it's really easy to, think, oh yeah, we'll get round to that. But I think if you can really nurture it whenever that interest is for your child, is the best time to be able to do that. And then when they get out there and they start having some successes, and people are like, wow, this is awesome. Like, Trent would have people ask for his autograph, and he was just 7, and he turned to me and he said, Mummy, what's an autograph? So, because they were like, wow, you're going to be successful one day. So I think, if you can, in our house, so obviously I have 3 children running a business together. To be honest, there's a lot of, they will get really excited about an idea, or the boys will have a goal they're working towards. And I think that really helps with that motivation. If your kids have something that they're working towards, it might be an experience like going to Disneyland, or it might be a new phone, or for older teens, it might be buying their first car, whatever it is, having some sort of purpose that they're working towards in their business really provides that motivation. So if my kids have something, currently they're all wanting to head to Japan for a ski trip. So that's the goal that they're all working towards with their business. So it really gives them that long-term motivation of, hey, this is where I'm going, and what are the steps I need to do to get there? But so as parents, that motivation ebbs and flows, and we're just here to support them when they're excited, when they have got a goal they want to hit. And, at the moment, my eldest, Trent, has exams coming up. So, the business is on a back burner for a couple of weeks while he has exams with school. So I think it really, generally the kids only spend a couple of hours a week on their business. So it's not something that's taking a lot of their time, because my other kids are really into sport. One of them's a state athlete. So, it's something that they can really work around their, school life and around their social life and so on, and be able to still fit it in. So, but in terms of motivation, if your kids can work towards something, we're big on vision boards in our house. The kids put up photos and, colors and stuff that they really want to achieve. I think that really helps. And just make the small goal a small one. So, for example, my son Heath, when he was 8, he wanted this cool electric Lego train set, had a little remote. And we could have easily, as parents, gone and got it for him. But we were like, okay, if you want this, that's great. How can we get you there? And so he decided, he used to play soccer, and he saw that there was no food vans or anything for the parents that were watching soccer on a Saturday morning. And so he went and got chocolate brownies and caramel popcorn, and he literally went out one morning for an hour or two, sold all of his products, and was like, hey, I've got enough to go get my Lego set now. And we were like, yay. And I think that really means a lot to your kids as well. When they have a goal, they put the effort in, and then they're able to achieve it. It's so much more meaningful for them than just getting a gift. And so if they can start setting small goals, and then Heath was like, wow, what could I achieve next? And so that really helps to keep up that motivation and that vision with their business.
Yeah, I love that, because so many parents are so quick to say no instead of turning that into an opportunity to actually, help their kid find a way to generate the income themselves. But that mindset, that's interesting. I don't think it comes naturally. So how did you kind of develop that yourself? Or I don't know, was that, on purpose? Did you devise that strategy with your husband? I'm curious about that.
I think where it all started for us was when we had our first child, and we realized that we didn't want to have to both work full time. I, obviously coming from a single parent home, never had a parent around. And so I really wanted to be there as a mum, to be able to be at home predominantly for my kids. And so we were like, hey, how can we generate extra revenue so that we can First I was able to be at home, but eventually the long-term goal was for Ben to be able to, that we would generate enough passive income so that he could be at home as well. And so we set that was a really big goal. It took us 5.5 years to work towards that, the whole bunch of different revenue streams that were able to get us there. And so that's really where it started from us. That was a really big goal. And then when we achieved that, that was something, I guess, goal setting, something that we've always been passionate about. And, you don't always hit your goals, but Ben always says, if you aim for the stars and you hit the ceiling, you're still a lot higher than what you were when you started. So I think that's also a great lesson for our kids, to dream big. And, some goals take longer than others, but with a lot of persistence and determination, I think that's a great thing to teach your kids, that they can get there and, put things into place. And we like to say, that saying, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And so I think that's a cool analogy to share with kids, like, what are the small steps that we can do today or this week that can get us to that long-term goal? So that works really nicely too.
Yeah, it's interesting that, you clearly have achieved a lot. And you make it sound so easy. I wish I could achieve the goals that I set for myself that readily and easily. Do you have tips on that aside from a vision board? You mentioned that as maybe being key, big goals to motivate you, or rewards to motivate you, keep you focused on that outcome. Anything else that you would recommend in terms of just achieving goals?
I think keeping your own internal motivation up, whether you're an adult or whether you're a kid, is a really big part of goals. Because obviously, I've got this graphic up that we show the kids in the Youth in Business program, and it's like, you have your goal, it's up here, and we just think, yep, it's going to be clear, little incline. But in the end, there's a pit, and you've got to climb up the ladder and go, and all the pitfalls and roundabouts that happen before you actually get there. And I think, I don't want it to sound easy, because even in our own journey, we set that goal over 15 years ago. So it was, lots of swings and roundabouts and learnings. But no matter what happens, I think, and this is with your kids as well, is sitting down, and even if something doesn't go the way that you planned it to, what can we learn from this? So we had a business with partners, a separate business, and did not go the way that we had planned. And so Ben and I really sat down and said, what have we learned from this, and what can we take from that moving forward? And so I think any entrepreneur, ultimately it's the knowledge that you're learning along the way that is going to, make a huge determinant on your success. And so I think having those lessons and really taking that time to reflect. I know with our kids, I think it's just opening kids' minds to what is possible. So reading really cool books with your kids, even if it's just on Audible and you're driving to school, and just having those discussions of, hey, what did you think about that? And what are the opportunities around us? So I think it's just, if you can take that time to reflect, that really helps think about what you've learned and how you can apply that moving forward. But ultimately, success for anyone is not going to be an easy journey. There's always going to be unexpected things that come up and, roadblocks and so on. But I think what really matters in the end is how we overcome those and the lessons that we move forward from there.
Yeah, I love that. You got to constantly be learning from your mistakes to move forward. You said something earlier about, exposing your children to certain things. You mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You mentioned, the board game, the cash flow game, right? I think podcast, it sounds like. I mean, were you... very strategic about that as well. I mean, just, trying to consistently expose your kids to business ideas and books and such.
Well, I think it's just something that, kids are sponges. They learn so quickly. And so I think the more, the environment that you create around is what they're going to learn from. So I think being intentional about the media that you let them, watch, or the books that they read, whether you do it together. Ever since my kids were young, I like to read, like they obviously do their school reading and so on to me in their assignments, but then I like to read to them. And so having a really cool book In the Youth in Business program, we actually have a book club. And so every month we have a book that we recommend. We have a study guide that goes with it. And so I think that works really nicely. You can just read a chapter, now and then, and it, may not happen during the week. It may just be something that you haven't, time for a quick 10 or 20 minute, chapter on the weekend. But I think if you can try and snap those little moments of time that can quickly, pass and nothing has generated from, I think that really helps. We started playing the board game with Trent when he was just 8, and there were, in the beginning, there's a lot of things to explain, like what are bonds, what are stocks, and so on, what's a mortgage, and so, but he picked it up so quickly, and by very, very quickly was playing it very fluently, and so I think that was really cool. He was playing the adult version, not even the kid version, and so I think, if you can do that and have those conversations, that really helps. At youthinbusiness.com, we actually have what we call Youth in Business TV, where we've gone out and interviewed successful kids running businesses all over the world. So we have some of our own kids that have won big awards. One of our kids, Ned, has a sustainable business and won the International Be the Change Award. We've also got kids that have been on Shark Tank. So Ryan Kelly from Rise Ruffery. So I think, exposing your kids to what other kids are doing, and it really creates that space for them that, hey, this is possible, and what could I do? And so that's really nice. It's really cool to see your kids thinking creatively and thinking, in a different way. And I think the skills that your kids learn from having a business really give them a competitive advantage. Like when we talk to kids that we've interviewed or our own clients that we're able to help, they're making connections with big CEOs. One of the kids, Alina, that we interviewed that created Zollipop, she was on her way home from the White House. She'd been invited there for the annual Easter egg roll. There's some really cool experiences and connections that can come out of your kids having their own business. And that's obviously just a side benefit, but really, really empowering at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm curious as to kind of what types of businesses these kids in your program are starting, because I don't imagine that we're just talking lemonade stands, right? Your own kids, you guys are making $20,000 a month. So, I mean, how are they generating that? What kind of business models are you teaching?
Yeah. So if you head to youthinbusiness.com, we actually have some free training there, and we have our 5-step system that we've helped thousands of kids across the world, because we've even launched into Europe now, really be able to start a successful business. So we have a system there. We have a whole bunch of free resources because we really want to help as many kids as we can. So we have a list of 101 winning ideas. So if you think, hey, I love this idea, or my kids are interested, but I just don't know where to start, that's a great place to head to. You can check out the winning ideas. So there's 101 ideas there. And it's literally a resource that you can spend a couple of minutes with your kids, highlight a couple that stand out to you, and really then watch the training. And that really steps you through, okay, now we have an idea. How do we get the ball rolling? How do we really get going with this? So we have a system there. We actually run a challenge with the kids in the $20, which is called the $20 challenge. So when kids are in the program, we really want them to see results fast, because we know that kids are from the instant gratification generation. They want results and they want it fast. And so we have a challenge, which is really fun, and to really get the kids results fast. So they get out, we have some training to help them be able to do that. And they get out and they sell it's called sell it before you build it. So if they have an idea for a product, they could get some photos. So for example, one of our families that we helped, they had 2 boys, Lucas and Clay, and they really wanted to sell sustainable products. So stainless steel straws, bamboo toothbrushes, and so on. And now instead of having to go and find the capital to be able to, place a big order and hope that they would sell the products, sell it before you build it really encourages kids to be able to, get a picture of what you're wanting to sell. So they went online, they found a supplier they were happy with. They said, hey, can we use your professional photos? They said, yep. They literally created a 2-week free trial on Shopify and also created a Facebook store. And they literally went online, promoted it, and within a couple of weeks had done $1,500 of sales. Now, the great thing there was the sales come in first, and then with that cash flow, then they go and order the product and ship it straight to the customer. So your kids don't even necessarily have to hold any stock. And the great thing is it proves their business concept without having to put any capital up to test the idea. So they're literally testing an idea, putting a few images, even if your kids have an interest in service-based businesses. So we've had kids do everything from, the traditional lawn mowing all the way through to social media content businesses. A lot of small business owners are really busy. They don't want to manage their own social media. And so we had one of our older teen girls, Caitlin, she was 17, say, hey, I'll manage all your social media for you. I'll post and I'll give you a report at the end of the month showing your engagement. And she was so successful with that business. She actually had to hire some overseas outsourcers to help her because she had too many clients. So I think with a service base, you can just say, hey, I'm launching this cool business. This is outline what your service is going to include. But the great thing with this sell it before you build it strategy is kids are going out and they're getting the sales in first, then they go and deliver, whether it's a product or a service. So they learn so much by doing this exercise because they're getting out and you get a whole bunch of market research. People will say, hey, I love that, but do you have an organic range? Or I'm looking for this color, or, do you have this as an option? And so while they're going out and selling, they're learning so much about what people are wanting in the marketplace, what people are looking for. And that obviously helps them guide them in their business and pivot if they need to really be able to deliver and provide that value for their customers as well. So yeah, sell it before you build it is a really cool strategy. Ben and I have done it as adults in our own businesses that we've just launched. We launched a business in COVID, went out, sold the idea and tested it, got all of the sales in, and then we went and delivered on it. So it works very well for adults as well. That thing that we love for kids is we want them to, have that success and bring those sales in first without having to, have to go get a loan or, The other great thing is with kids is that a lot of people want to get behind them. So if you love the idea of your kid, being famous or getting free publicity, we've been able to help, nearly all of our clients that have wanted it. Not all clients do. Some are a little bit more private to be able to get the media behind them. And obviously, if you have an online business in particular, that really massively helps driving sales and brand recognition and getting the word out there as well. So having a young person in business is outstanding nowadays. And I really think there's so many, pluses that can come from it, including free publicity. But so if you head to youthinbusiness.com, you can check out the TV, you can check out the winning ideas and also the training around once you have your idea, where to and how to go from there and how to scale it. And for us, we're really big on kids developing the skill set of an entrepreneur. Like we said, school's wonderful for teaching our kids a lot of skills, but in terms of life skills, there's a big gap in the market there. And so if we can teach our kids those financial and life skills moving forward, I really think it sets them up for success.
Yeah, this is perfect. This is, really great advice for any adult listening out there. The whole, sell it before you make it model, especially like you said, you're getting market feedback, and you can use the sales and the revenue generated to then invest in the product. And that's amazing that you're teaching young children that. There are many adult entrepreneurs that are doing it the hard way and not selling first. So I love that. What kind of life skills are you also teaching them? Because I'm curious about that part as well.
Yeah, so part of our Youth in Business program, we have a whole component which is all about so obviously the first step is creating their business, growing it and scaling it. But then we have a lot of kids that have created, we actually created some awards. So most of the kids that join the program do $1,000 or more in their first 30 days of business. So we actually created an award to honor kids for that. So it's called our 1K Club, and they get a trophy. And we really, we put them on our social media and we interview them and really help them to be able to strategize out the next steps from there. But what we found was kids were then growing and scaling into, more longer term businesses. So they were doing $10,000 a month or more, like our kids. And so then we created our 10K Club trophies. They get a big gold trophy. And that's really great recognition. And so what we found was with those awards that kids were really, inspired and motivated. And so if you head to our website, youthinbusiness.com, you can check out the kids that are in these clubs. So the ones that are at the 1K Club, that are in the 10K Club. And the great thing is it really opens your kids' minds to what's possible, and they can learn, there's videos of what the kids got up to. So if you love the idea of the $20 challenge with your kids, we actually have videos where they can go and see what other kids did for the challenge, what they learned, and their tips for your kids getting started as well. So Yeah, so I think they're really great awards that we were literally just created out of the program with kids that were growing businesses long term. Yeah, so that's been really exciting. And I think, yeah, the skills that we cover in the program. So once the kids have that money, so obviously the step is growing the business, scaling it. Then what we found was there was a lot of kids with quite a bit of cash flow from their business that were like, hey, what do we do with it now? So in the program, we actually have a whole section called Young Wealth Secrets, where we teach them about investing and what to do once they've created that capital. What's the best way to grow it moving forward? So yeah, we teach kids in terms of life skills. Obviously, the basics, everything from debt and credit cards and mortgages and wealth creation, all the way through to investing for the long term as well.
Okay, that's amazing. So the life skills you're talking about all revolve around managing the finances and building wealth, which I think is awesome. Obviously, I wish public schools out there were teaching these skills, but that's why there are people like you that fill that gap, and I think it's amazing. Let's talk about. So we've talked a lot about the current business, and typically we do this a little backwards, where we kind of start with your story a little bit more and dive into some of the other businesses. So I'm curious because you guys had that goal of being, financially free or having the passive income, and you guys achieved that in 5 years. So maybe let's go back to that a little bit. And how were you guys able to do that? And what kind of businesses did you build to get there?
Yeah, so originally we started out in the property space. So we did a mentoring program and we started out subdividing and selling properties. I'm not sure what you call subdivision in the States. Basically, where you buy a house on a really big lot and you're able to chop it in half, sell the land and renovate the property at the front and sell that too. So that's where we started out in property. Then we started buying units that were on one title, and then we would, here it's called strata subdivision. You can subdivide them into actual individual properties, which increases the value of the property. So we did a lot of property stuff to begin with, and had big success there, and obviously built a portfolio. They were all positively geared properties. So that was obviously bringing in some positive cash flow, which was helping us towards our goal. And then from there, we learned a bit about options and stocks and so on. But for us, where we really took us to the next level was when we started creating online businesses. And we started buying online businesses originally. So in terms of, blogging sites and SEO, sites that had minimal amount of traffic that we saw potential for, that we could increase the traffic. And so that was really where, property is a really great avenue, obviously, for wealth creation, but it takes a lot of capital. And then obviously you have to deal with finance and banks. And obviously, in the last few years, that's all been locked up a lot. And so for us, when we went into online business, we were like, wow, the returns that we're seeing here are just huge compared to what we were seeing in property. So we've built up a portfolio of, online businesses. And since then, my husband has created a digital marketing company with a partner, and we've created other businesses predominantly online, including now Youth in Business. Prior to COVID, we'd run a lot of free workshops where parents and kids could come together. They were really great. But here in Australia, when COVID came through, we were literally locked in our state for about a year and a half. We couldn't even go to other states in the country. So it was pretty crazy over here. So we had to pivot the business model. So now it's purely online. And so, we've had to tweak and change there. So yeah, that's really, online business really gave us the leverage to where we are today. And because the returns were obviously just there. And since then, so my husband and I run Youth in Business together. Ben runs a digital marketing company with his partner. And then he also, during COVID, we had an events business that shut down, obviously, here with the restrictions. And so out of that, my husband created another business at the time, which was actually a mining and prospecting business. Here in Australia, we have a lot of gold mining. And so, that was born out of COVID. And so, life's a big juggling act with 3 businesses on the go, but it's pretty fun. There's always something happening.
Yeah, I love that. So you guys have dabbled in a lot of different things. So where my brain goes automatically is, how were you able to be successful in all of these areas? I mean, did you just grind to learn all the skills that it took to be able to do that? Or were you relying a lot on, outsourcing work? Or it sounds like, you guys were buying the businesses. Were these already self-sustaining businesses, or how were you guys able to do so many different things? I guess that is really my question.
Yeah, I think when we started out, we're like any entrepreneur, you're a bit like a one-man band, where you're trying to do everything yourself. You're trying to do your social media, trying to do the SEO, you're managing all your own emails, you're doing literally everything, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to. And so when we were started out in the online business world, we were doing everything ourselves and trying to manage it all between us, just Ben and I. And then obviously, so we were buying online businesses that were small that we could see big potential for, and then we were monetizing those and putting really good content out there to be able to build up the traffic and the engagement. And then from there, when we'd get them to a certain point, often we'd get people saying, hey, could we buy them? Or if we got a good offer, we would sell them, and then just look for other opportunities out there. So that's really where that started. From there, when we started Youth in Business, this was really a passion project for us, because we'd seen how much us kids had really grown out of having their own business. And so we just loved seeing the potential for kids. And so we created this. And at the time, we had no idea how to market. We were more focused on the, SEO and content side of online traffic. And so then it was the challenge for, this is particularly Ben, my husband, to learn how to market online, paid marketing, learn the paid side instead of the free side of traffic. And so he started to, develop his knowledge there, try running our own ads for, our own businesses. And obviously this has been a journey that started, back in 2016. So, and online marketing is changing all the time. And so once Ben was successfully running our own marketing, people were like, hey, can you help me with my marketing? And so then he sort of started just for free helping people. And people were like, wow, that was so awesome. You should go out and help other people. And so that sort of came out of people asking for his help with digital marketing. And so, and then he had a friend that was in a similar space. So they said, hey, why don't we join forces and do this together? And so that's where that came out of. And then the mining business came out of Ben has a passion for prospecting for gold. Here you can take out these big high-end detectors and literally go out in the red dirt and find gold. And so it was just a hobby. And he had a business partner who wasn't a business partner, just a friend at the time that was really passionate about that. And that's what I would say with your kids in business, find something that they're passionate about. And that's a great place to start. So if you have a kid that is really passionate about craft, or if you have a kid that's really passionate about cooking or gaming or whatever that is, find a way for them to monetize. And if you go to our website at youthinbusiness.com, there's a lot of content there to share how to start with your kids' passion. Because if it's something that they already enjoy doing, they don't even have to enter the rat race. They can already start to get paid for something that they already enjoy doing. And what a better purpose in life for our kids to be able to monetize something they enjoy. So one of the kids that we've helped, one of our clients, Josh, he had a huge passion for surfing. Obviously here in Australia, that's pretty big. And so he originally started out doing drone photography. So clients would pay him to take his drone, and when they were out surfing, get really cool shots of them on the waves, and he would send those off to his clients. And while he loved that, he really saw here in Australia, a lot of surfers don't wear sunscreen because it's greasy, makes their hands slippery. When they pop up on the board, they slip. And so he saw the stats around skin cancer and was like, hey, I'm really inspired to create a non-slip sunscreen specifically for surfers to prevent skin cancer. And obviously here in Australia, we have a massive UV ratings. And so Josh, reached out, he did the work, he found a supplier that needed, a bit of capital to get that first run. So we helped him put together a crowdfunding campaign. And that's a great strategy as well. If your kid has a really big idea for a product that they want to launch. Josh, we helped him put together a crowdfunding campaign. We helped Josh get some free publicity around that campaign, and he was able to generate around $12,000 in the first month of his campaign being online. So that enabled him to be able to get that initial run of products. And obviously, you say to your customers, hey, it'll be a couple of months till we ship you your product, but people are really supportive of young entrepreneurs, which is really nice as well in general. And so, yeah, now Josh has created a business that is sold. His product is sold in over like 50 stores here in Australia, and he's actually looking at launching into the US market. He's connected with the founder of Hurley, who wants to get him over to the US market. Obviously, summer's a different time of year than here. So there's so many opportunities out there, and that all came from Josh's love of surfing. So he had a service-based business with the surf photography, and then now obviously has the product-based side as well. So I think if you start with what your kids are already passionate about, that's a great place, because they already enjoy spending the time on it. So if they can get paid to do what they love, what more could you really want for your kids?
Yeah, I love that. That's excellent advice. I'm kind of curious about, the part of getting publicity. I mean, like this kid, connecting with the founder of Hurley. I mean, that's amazing. How do you, coach kids to get free publicity like that and make those kinds of connections?
There is a bit of a method to free publicity. We have it's part of our free training that we share. If you're interested in your kids getting publicity, obviously having a landing page where people can go check them out after the free publicity is really important, so people can find you if you are selling a product. At the time, Josh had his crowdfunding campaign. So after getting traffic from his interviews, they were able to go check out the crowdfunding campaign. And if they wanted to support Josh from there, the thing I love about Josh's story is he literally had a hand-drawn, picture of what his sunscreen was going to look like. It was literally in black and white, drawn by hand, and he was still able to generate $12,000 in revenue. So I think if you can connect with people, and obviously, if you're able to get that free publicity, then people see you, and a lot of the clients that we work with, people will reach out to them and say, hey, I'm part of a chamber of commerce. How can we help? And so they get invitations to speak and invitations that way. So the more that you can get your business and your brand out there really helps, obviously, with making connections as people hear about you and learn about your purpose. A lot of the kids in our program have a charitable aspect to their business. So Josh, with his sunscreen is called Seagull Milk. He gives 10% of his profits to sea charities that help with ocean cleanups, and he's really passionate about that. A lot of the kids that we work with have that aspect where they give a part of their profits or their proceeds to something that's passionate about to them. One of our clients there have a history of Parkinson's disease, so they donate part profits to Parkinson's charities. And so I think we actually have a whole module in the program called Doing Good is Great Business. And so how can you make a difference, no matter what your age is, as a business owner, how can you make an impact on those around you? And so our kids do that in their own business. And I think that's really great for kids to think about. They can make a difference with their business. And, as a young person, they still can make massive impact in the community.
That's powerful. Absolutely. I mean, everyone wants to support a good cause, right? And especially if they have the option of a comparable product versus one that has the additional benefit of doing something positive in the world, right? It's a no-brainer for a lot of consumers. So, that's amazing. You've talked about a lot of different businesses, and you and your husband were buying and selling a lot of businesses, it sounds like. Do you have specific criteria when it comes to buying businesses that you look for? I mean, some specific things that maybe our audience members can put in their minds as they go out and maybe potentially buy businesses?
Well, obviously, predominantly we're talking about young people today. So I think obviously with kids, they don't have a lot of capital behind them. So I think the big principle for kids to learn and take away from this is sell it before you build it. Whatever your idea is for a product or a service-based business, how can you promote it online and also offline? So obviously online, there's a lot of social media groups and so on that you can target specific to whatever your niche is. Or niche, as you guys say. We say niche. And but I think as an adult, obviously, that's probably a topic for another time because that's pretty in depth. And obviously, the online world is changing a lot. We started out back in this space back in 2016. Since then, we've obviously developed our own businesses and our own brand. So it's not something that we do. We still have some sites, but not as much as what we used to, because we're more focused on how do we scale and grow things that we're passionate about. And so for Ben, that's the gold business. He loves gold, loves precious metals. And for me, and obviously together, we love inspiring the next generation. So I think, the biggest thing is my advice would be sell it before you build it. Because Ben and I, many years ago had an idea for a product online, and we spent months and years developing and making the perfect website. And then when we actually launched it, it was terrible. The people that we were trying to sell to did not have, I think it was to help people with, it was in the mining niche, and it was to help people that wanted a mining job. There's a whole system for doing that here in Australia. And so, but of course, the people that didn't have jobs didn't have the money to buy the course to be able to learn how to get the mining job. And so it was an absolute flop. And so for me, I think the biggest lesson as an adult in business is, if you can, sell a business idea before you've even had to build it. So Ben says, create the plane as you're flying it. So basically, get out there. I think as adults, we are held back by a mindset belief that everything has to be perfect and in order and finished and polished before we can go out and share it with the world. And I think what I've learned through this journey is the thing done is better than the perfect thing not done. So just getting something out there. When we originally launched Youth in Business, we were not happy with we were putting videos out. Our friends had said, hey, we'll quickly film you. We'd chuck some clothes on. And I was like, oh, this is terrible. But we went out there. We ran our first workshop. We had over 100 people in the room. And because you're constantly looking at that thing going, oh, I need to make that better, then you will make sure that happens anyway. So I think the thing done is better than the perfect thing not done. So whatever that looks like for, whether you're a kid business owner or an adult business owner in particular, as adults, don't let that hold you back from, you can't go out and sell your idea for your business without it being perfect and having the perfect website. That's been my biggest learning throughout this whole entrepreneurial journey, is just get out there and just do it, and the success that will often come, you'll be like, oh, why didn't I do this 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Or wow, what was I letting me hold myself back? So I think that's, if you can, sometimes get out of your own way and just take action is really where the success will come.
I love that. Where can people go to connect with you? I know you mentioned the website, Youth in Business. Is it just youthinbusiness.com?
Yep. So youthinbusiness.com, you can go and check out all the resources, the free training there. And if you want to be inspired by other young kid business owners, we have that Youth in Business TV there as well. If your kids want to learn more about the $20 challenge, we have a whole bunch of videos there you can watch. And then we also have a Facebook page, which is called Youth in Business HQ, where you can connect with us online as well.
Perfect. We'll have the links to those in the show notes for anyone listening. So go there to find those and connect with Sheri. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been great. I've loved learning about youth in business, the model, all the amazing things you're doing. You're teaching the youth. It's fascinating. And I have a 4-year-old. And so I think about her and maybe how we can start with her. And I'd love to check out your program. So it's impressive what you're doing. So thank you for being a disruptor in the world, doing something positive for the youth. That's amazing. We need more of that. What's your final message to our audience, if there's one more thing?
So I think my final message would be, start having those discussions with your kids. Really start being intentional with what you're exposing them to, whether it's books or media or podcasts or whatever that is. If you can really think about how, we really believe here at Youth in Business that your kids are really shaped by two things. Firstly, by the media and the books and things around them, but also, and the things that they're listening to, as well as, secondly, the community and the people that are around them. So, if you want your kid to become a state athlete, if you're putting them in an environment where other kids are doing that and becomes their normal, it stretches their mind to think, wow, and it becomes real for them that, hey, I can do that too. And so I think if you're intentional around the environment that your kids are growing up in, with the people they're around and the media they're exposed to, I think just being, firstly, if you are intentional about that, well done, you're way ahead of the pack. And secondly, if you're thinking about really what you can do and provide them with and start having those discussions with them, your kids are going to be so much more ahead of the rest and really have that advantage moving forward with those skills. So I think, really think, take away and think on that. We really I hope today that I've opened your minds to what's possible for young people out there. I didn't even mention that some of the kids that have been in that program have bought houses before they're 18. We've even had someone write a book, How I Made More Money Than My Principal Before I Left School, one of our clients. So there's kids out there doing amazing things. That's possible for, you and your family and your kids. So I really hope that your eyes are opened, and really wishing you all the best with your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you so much. That's a perfect note to end on. To anyone listening out there, please subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to this on and share this with anyone that you possibly can. That helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for being on the show, Sheri, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks so much. Bye.